What would you do if the very person meant to protect and cherish you, the one who should guide you through life, turned his back on you? This is the heartbreaking story of two sisters, Amina and Zainab, born into a family where love seemed conditional, and their worth was judged by standards beyond their control. Their father, Ibrahim, once a respected man in the community, held firm, unshakable beliefs. Amina and Zainab, despite their innocence and their efforts to earn his affection, faced rejection from the one person they yearned to please the most. Why? Was it their actions, their choices, or something beyond their control? As they grew, the sisters leaned on each other, building a bond stronger than anything they'd ever experienced with Ibrahim. Their mother, Fatima, a quiet figure in the background, tried to mend the shattered pieces of their family. But was it enough? Could love and forgiveness ever reach a man so steadfast in his judgment? This story of betrayal, resilience, and unbreakable sisterhood will make you question the very foundation of family. How do Amina and Zainab rise above the shadows of rejection? And what does it take to find strength when your world is crumbling? Stay with us as we uncover their journey, filled with pain, hope, and lessons that might change the way you see family forever. Family is often described as a bond that transcends challenges, a source of unconditional love and acceptance. But what happens when that bond breaks down? What happens when the very foundation of a family, a father's love, crumbles, leaving behind scars that last a lifetime? This is the story of Amina and Zainab, two African sisters whose lives were turned upside down by rejection from the one man they trusted the most, their father, Ibrahim. Amina and Zainab grew up in a small village where family ties were sacred, and a father's role was seen as the ultimate protector and provider. From the outside, their family appeared no different from others. Their mother, Fatima, was a quiet, nurturing woman who dedicated her life to her children. Their father, Ibrahim, was respected in the community for his strong beliefs and uncompromising principles. But behind closed doors, the picture was far from perfect. Ibrahim had always been a man of rigid expectations. To him, success was measured by how well one conformed to his ideals. His daughters, however, were dreamers. Amina, the elder sister, was curious and independent, always eager to learn and explore beyond the boundaries of their village. Zainab, the younger of the two, was gentle and artistic, often expressing herself through drawings and songs. They were different, not in a way that should have alienated them, but in a way that made them unique and full of potential. Yet, these differences became the very reason for their father's rejection. Ibrahim believed his daughters should follow a path that aligned with his vision, one rooted in tradition and rigid societal norms. Amina's questions and Zainab's creativity were seen as rebellion rather than individuality. He started to withdraw his affection, his words becoming cold, his actions distant. At first, the sisters didn't understand why their father treated them differently. They tried harder to please him, suppressing their dreams and desires to gain his approval. But no matter what they did, Ibrahim's heart remained closed. Fatima watched helplessly as her husband's rejection began to take a toll on her daughters. She tried to mediate, to soften his stance, but her voice was often ignored or silenced. The rejection wasn't just emotional, it seeped into their everyday lives. Ibrahim's indifference meant Amina and Zainab missed out on the guidance and encouragement every child deserves. They grew up feeling unworthy, questioning if they were to blame for their father's coldness. This sense of inadequacy weighed heavily on them, shaping their personalities and their view of the world. But within this pain, a powerful bond was forming. Amina and Zainab leaned on each other, finding in their sisterhood the love and support they lacked from their father. Fatima, though burdened by the conflict, became their silent pillar, encouraging them to rise above the rejection. This is not just a story of heartbreak, it's a story of resilience, hope, and the unyielding strength of sisterhood. As we journey through the lives of Amina and Zainab, we'll explore the impact of rejection, the struggle for identity, and the quest for acceptance. What did these sisters do to overcome their father's disapproval? And how did they find the courage to move forward when the very foundation of their family was shaken? Stay with us to discover the answers. Amina and Zainab's story was not one of rebellion for the sake of rebellion, nor was it a story of defiance. It was a story of love, misunderstood dreams, and the pain of growing up in a home where the love of a father was conditional. Their father, Ibrahim, had always been a man who valued tradition. His belief in following societal expectations was so strong that it left no room for deviation. And for Amina and Zainab, that became a barrier that they could not cross, no matter how hard they tried. The tension in their home grew as the years passed. Amina, the older sister, had always been a curious soul. She questioned everything around her. She wanted to know about the world beyond their small village, to learn new things, and to understand the mysteries of life. She wasn't satisfied with the limited worldview she was given. Her father, however, saw this as a weakness, something that threatened the family's stability. He expected his children to follow the path that had been set before them, one that was rooted in the old ways, where men provided and women were caretakers. At first, Amina's questions were met with patience. Ibrahim would sit with her and explain, in his mind, the way things were supposed to be. But as she grew older and her questions became deeper, his patience began to fade. He didn't want her to dream, he wanted her to conform. The more Amina pushed for answers, the colder his responses became. Eventually, he stopped answering altogether. Zainab, on the other hand, had a different way of expressing herself. Where Amina used words to voice her desires, Zainab used art. She would often retreat to a quiet corner of their home, drawing and painting to express her emotions. She would draw pictures of places she wished to visit, of adventures she wished to experience, and of the freedom she longed for. Her art was a window into her soul, and yet, to her father, it was nothing more than childish fantasy. The more Zainab drew, the more Ibrahim scolded her for wasting time. He believed that such distractions took away from her duties as a daughter. Zainab's innocence and passion were misinterpreted as rebellion. Ibrahim's rejection was harsh, his words were sharp, and his disapproval stung deeply. His focus was on preparing Zainab to be a good wife and mother, not an artist or an explorer. As the girls grew older, the rejection they faced from their father became more evident. They began to feel the weight of his disappointment in everything they did. Amina stopped asking questions. She silenced her curiosity and began to live her life according to Ibrahim's rules, suppressing the parts of herself that longed to explore the world beyond the village. She focused on studying subjects that Ibrahim considered appropriate for girls, subjects that would make her a good wife and mother. But inside, she was torn. She felt like she was betraying herself to please a man who would never be truly satisfied with her. Zainab, too, withdrew. She stopped drawing as much, afraid of further angering her father. Her creativity, once her greatest strength, became a source of pain. She struggled to find joy in anything. How could she? The one person who was supposed to believe in her had rejected her. How could she ever believe in herself again? Fatima, the girl's mother, witnessed all of this unfold. She loved her daughters deeply and understood their pain. But her role in the family had always been that of a mediator, trying to keep peace in a household that was growing more and more fractured. Ibrahim's rejection was something she had never anticipated when they first got married. She had always thought of him as a loving and supportive father, but the man she married was now a shadow of his former self. His love for his daughters
was conditional, and his belief in their worth depended on how well they fit into his vision of what they should be. But Fatima didn't give up on her daughters. She whispered words of encouragement to them in the quiet moments when Ibrahim wasn't around. She told them that they were worthy of love, no matter what their father believed. She reminded them that their dreams and passions were valid, even if Ibrahim couldn't see that. Yet, the rejection from Ibrahim weighed heavily on Amina and Zainab. They were torn between the love they still held for their father and the pain of his disapproval. They didn't want to lose him, but at the same time, they couldn't continue living under the burden of his expectations. The turning point came when Amina, now a young adult, decided that she had had enough. She had spent so many years living a life she didn't want. She knew she had to break free, but she wasn't sure how. She knew that if she stayed, she would only lose herself completely. Amina approached Fatima one evening and said, "I need to leave. I can't keep living like this anymore. I have dreams that I need to follow, and I can't do it under my father's roof." Fatima was heartbroken, but she understood. She had always known that her daughters had big hearts and big dreams. She had hoped that Ibrahim would see that one day, but it seemed unlikely now. "Go, my daughter," Fatima said, tears welling up in her eyes. "Follow your dreams. You deserve happiness and you deserve to live the life you want." With her mother's blessing, Amina made the difficult decision to leave the village. Zainab, though younger, chose to follow her sister. She couldn't imagine life without Amina, and her own dreams were becoming too important to ignore. Together, they embarked on a journey to build lives that were true to themselves. This was not the end of their story. It was only the beginning. Amina and Zainab found strength in each other, and together they created a life filled with possibilities. They may have been rejected by their father, but they were not lost. They had each other, and they had the courage to chase their dreams. In the end, that was all they needed to create a future that was truly their own. The story of Amina and Zainab isn't just one of rejection, it's a story of love, pain, and the powerful bond between sisters that transcends even the deepest wounds. Amina and Zainab were not just daughters, they were dreamers, creatives, and individuals longing for acceptance, not just from their father but from the world around them. But the one place they should have felt unconditional love and understanding, their home, was where they felt the most rejected. As the years went by, the weight of their father's disapproval began to sink in deeper. Each day, Amina tried to keep her curiosity alive, but it felt like a battle she couldn't win. Ibrahim's cold, dismissive attitude towards her thirst for knowledge drained her spirit. Her questions, once filled with the promise of discovery, became whispers in a house where silence had replaced affection. In Zainab's case, her heart, which once brought her peace and joy, now became a silent cry for attention and approval. Her creativity was stifled, not by her own fears, but by the harsh words of a father who could never see her worth. But despite the rejection they both faced from Ibrahim, Amina and Zainab still held onto each other. They were each other's refuge, their shared dreams, and their shared pain. When the world felt so cold, they found warmth in each other's company. Amina encouraged Zainab to keep drawing, even when their father forbade it, and Zainab supported Amina when her hopes felt out of reach. They were the only ones who truly understood each other's struggles, and this connection became their lifeline. What makes their story so deeply emotional is not just the pain of being rejected by their father, but the strength they found in their bond as sisters. In a world that seemed to turn against them, they leaned on each other and learned that love wasn't defined by approval. It was something deeper, something that couldn't be taken away. Their shared experiences, their shared pain, and their shared dreams built a connection that nothing, not even their father's rejection, could break. As the years went by, the tension between Ibrahim and his daughters, Amina and Zainab, only grew stronger. Ibrahim's harsh rejection of his daughters left a deep emotional scar on their hearts, but they still clung to the hope that one day he would change. Every interaction with him felt like walking on a tightrope, where one wrong word or action could send everything crashing down. This created a constant state of suspense. Would their father ever accept them? Or would they forever remain outsiders in their own home? Amina's determination to prove her worth to Ibrahim grew stronger with each passing year. She pushed herself harder, excelling in everything she did, hoping that one day he would see her potential. But every achievement, every success, seemed to make little difference to him. Zainab, too, tried to find ways to bridge the gap, often hiding her artwork in hopes of one day revealing it to him, in the hope that he might finally understand her. But each time she sought his approval, she was met with his cold indifference, and this only added to the mounting conflict. The sisters began to question themselves. What was it about them that their father could never love? Was it something they had done, or was it something about them he could never accept? Their father's rejection turned into a silent battle, one that pitted their desire for love against their fear of being unworthy. The suspense was unbearable. With each passing day, the emotional conflict became more intense, and they began to wonder, would they ever truly be able to heal from the wounds their father had inflicted, or would they forever remain trapped in this cycle of rejection? As the years unfolded, Amina and Zainab came to a realization. While they longed for their father's love, they also began to understand that their worth wasn't defined by his acceptance. Their bond with each other grew stronger as they shared their feelings and supported one another through their pain. The love between them became a source of strength, filling the void left by their father's rejection. They began to find peace in knowing that they didn't need his approval to be valuable. One day, Amina took a bold step. She stood before Ibrahim, not to demand his love but to simply express her feelings. "Father," she said softly, "I've spent my whole life trying to earn your love. But now, I realize that I am enough just as I am, with or without your approval." Her words were not filled with bitterness, but with a calm acceptance that shocked Ibrahim. In that moment, he saw the strength and maturity in his daughter, and it stirred something deep within him. Zainab, too, found solace in her art. She started painting not for her father's recognition, but for herself. Her work blossomed, and people around her started to appreciate her talent. Slowly, the pain of rejection faded, replaced by the pride she felt in her own journey. Though Ibrahim never fully embraced his daughters, Amina and Zainab found resolution within themselves. They realized that love could come from many places, especially from the people who truly understood and accepted them. With the support of each other, they walked forward, knowing that they were not defined by their father's rejection but by the strength of their own hearts. Amina and Zainab's journey teaches us a powerful lesson about self-worth, resilience, and the importance of unconditional love. While they faced unimaginable rejection, they discovered that the love they had within themselves and for each other was far more powerful than anything they could have received from their father. They found strength in their bond, in their individuality, and in the understanding that they were enough, just as they were. Their story is a reminder to all of us that we are not defined by the approval of others but by our own sense of self-worth and the love we give and receive. Life may not always unfold as we expect, but it's in the most difficult moments that we often find our true strength. If you've ever felt rejected or unloved, remember Amina and Zainab. Their journey proves that healing begins when we accept ourselves and embrace the support of those who truly care for us. You don't need anyone's validation to know your worth. If this story resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on your own journey. Are there parts of yourself that you've been hiding, waiting for approval? Let go of that need and embrace who you are. Share your story with someone who might need to hear it. Together, we can all learn to stand strong in the face of adversity. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspirational stories.